Oh my freaking fracking God. I am so happy to have Marisa Corcoran, the fabulous, the only, such a fangirl, copy mentor. Oof, quick, click, watch this. If you need help with your messaging, like literally run quickly while I'm wittering away here. Get your tea, come back, watch the rest of this because having been in the Copy Confidence Society, which is Marisa's amazing program, you have got to sit down and watch this interview as I know she's both going to help you and inspire you because I know if you're following me, if you're here with me, then you have your business, you want it to work, you want it to grow, but maybe something is holding you back from just that level of success that you want and you're dreaming of. And I can tell you, having been Marissa in my messaging, that you have got to listen to what she has to say. Marisa, thank you so much for joining me on the Business Spotlight today.
Oh my gosh, Elaine, thank you so much for having me. This is such a treat. I'm so excited to be here with you, with your listeners, and this is awesome. You know, I already adore you. We were talking before we started how much I was already saying I love the Irish, and the Irish and I just like we get each other. And so I'm just really excited to be here. This is so great.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. So I'm going to just interview you and ask you questions all about your business
Yeah.
because the business spotlight for me is like, for people who fine might just be like in their business ages and something's not quite working, or it's for people who are starting out and they just are like, should I keep going? And I want them to see people just like your beautiful self who are through that, like, "Ugh." And yeah, I know we all face struggles in our business, no matter what level we're at. But still, I just think it's really inspiring to hear from people who are like really succeeding in doing something different than working for an organization. Particularly, both of us are quite interested in purpose. So, long way of asking you. First of all, what do you do to for you to explain to everybody? And then also why? Like, why did you start your business?
Yeah, such a great question. So if you're out there and you're listening, I always say if you have a business, right, your business has three basic needs, three things. One, you have to sell in a way that feels good. If you don't have buyers, you don't have a business. Number two, you have to call in the right people to sell to. We know this is lead generation or audience growth. And in order to make one and two happen, number three is that you have to know what to say and how to say it in order to make one and two come alive. And that's where your copy comes in. And copy is in two ways: how you talk about what you do. What we're doing right now is copy. Can you confidently communicate that message with clarity, with confidence? And then the kind of what we call like that kind of personality, that copy that really helps you shine coming through in your marketing material. So think about the words on your website. Think about your LinkedIn profile, the words in that about section, the title, the words in your email marketing. All of that is the copy. And that's what we do inside, as you said, our signature community, program and community, the Copy Confidence Society, where we help you with both of those. We help you craft what we call your uncopyable message and get clear and specific when you talk about what you do, and then back that up with the personality filled copy that dazzles. And that's what we do. And we've been doing, at the time of this recording, we've launched the society 12 times. We've supported over 800 business owners, which is like, wowza. And that's what we do. And it's so funny. I always joke and I say, I used to carry around a human spine in a suitcase, but don't worry, it wasn't a real human spine. Um, I was an actor and I got my MFA in acting from Harvard. And when I went back to the city, I had a kind of variety of jobs as any actor does. And my main gig was that I daylighted during the day for when I was, working as an actress at night, uh, as a sales ambassador for a chiropractic and wellness center in Midtown Manhattan. So I could waltz one of those science class skeletons with like the pamphlets, the pens into high-end businesses like JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, into gyms like Equinox. And I was really fantastic at getting people to come in. And my close rate was quite high. So I was talking about this with my boss, and like my friends and I, all that were actors, we were incredible at this. Why was it? Well, I mean, I believed in all of those non-invasive remedies that could help nearly any New Yorker, but I was also applying my acting skills, like really speaking to one person, having a clear intention, bringing my personality out. And at the same time, I started writing for clients, and I was kind of applying the same thing, this kind of actor's guide, because I realized that everything that makes you successful on stage could make you a star in your business. And so when I started applying this to my writing clients, they were getting these things in kind of the online coaching space. They were getting the 6-figure launches that people are talking about. We're getting very high conversions on landing pages. I'm talking like 60% or higher. We were getting people responding. I was like, okay, this was this actor's guide. And so I basically took all of that, and that became the foundation, because my clients, my done for you clients were like, well, if I didn't have you, Marisa, how would I do this? And we're using copy all of the time. If you think about today, there was an email you likely had to send, even introducing me, like this is all copy. So I wanted to give business owners a place that they could go to hone in on this skill. And that's kind of how the Copy Confidence Society was born. And here we are. Here we are.
Brilliant. So, for those of you that don't know Marisa, what type of client do you work with, and how has it evolved?
Yes. So I really thrive in the online coaching space. So when I started, it was 2013. I would say the online space was like the Wild West a bit. It was like, it's still the Wild West, but at that time there was like a tumbleweed and like a general store, basically. Like it was, and one of my best friends, Diana, was a parenting coach. And she was in this like mastermind. And I was like, what is that? And she was telling me people in there, that's how I started, need help with their website, the words on their website, all of that. So I really kind of made my mark supporting online coaches. So if you're somebody who has a business online, think you're a health coach, you are a financial coach, you're a business coach, you're a service provider, maybe you're a copywriter. That was kind of the kind of how the Copy Confidence Society was born. But as we talked about, Elaine, we've served over 800 business owners. And it's evolved to where we definitely have an influx now of product-based businesses as well. Yeah, we have a lot of product-based businesses, and I'm very clear, like I'm not going to like help you with product descriptions. That's not my bag. But where product-based businesses come to us is because they want to be able to share more of their story, more of that founder story. How can they use that email marketing to connect more? And it's not just like talking about the products, there's other things. So we really supported that. And we also have people who maybe do work for an organization and are trying to bring more of a stronger brand voice, something that doesn't feel as stuffy, something that feels more relatable, and find a way to do that, still with those principles of copywriting. So we do have some people that might work for an organization and they themselves come to kind of take this and kind of swipe it for the organization. But the biggest majority is those online coaches and creatives. That's our biggest group. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you started in as a done for you copywriter.
Copywriter. Yep.
When did you see, oh, this is what I've got to do? Like, what inspired you to go for it?
It's so funny. It's not what I thought I was going to do. I was an actor, so I didn't I mean, I did it. I did my job. I did a good job. I always say like I sometimes I hit it out of the park. Sometimes I failed my way forward, but I wasn't like that attached to it. It was like if a project went well, okay, great. If it didn't, I would learn, that was my main focus. So I was like, oh, one day when I'm not doing this will be like a fun story I can tell on like Jimmy Fallon. You know what I mean? I was like not planning on it at all. But I always, kind of joke also and say that I say Winnie the Pooh broke me. I kind of had this audition for Winnie the Pooh, and I was really excited about it. I like was ready to play this character, the character of Rabbit, if you know Winnie the Pooh. And there was like a mix up about me coming in, and I just remember being like, my gosh, this is exhausting. I felt like my fate was constantly in the hands of someone else. This was a pretty like well-known theater, like getting in on a children's show and I really wanted to do theater. It was like a gateway to more projects, like regionally throughout the country or in the US. And it was just that day, I'll never forget. I decided that Rabbit would wear overalls that felt very much like Rabbit and Winnie the Pooh, like I had like the little foot that was tapping that felt like bunny-like, but and I remember just taking my overalls off one by one in my kitchen until I was just like standing there naked. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. felt like my hands were in the fate of someone else. And so I was lucky enough at the time, I had my private writing clients, so I could kind of turn my attention to that for a bit. And then I remember waking up one morning and I was just like, well, what am I going to do now? Like, I needed a plan B, and whatever that plan B was, there could be no plan C. And I thought, okay, for whatever reason, I couldn't do this as an actor. I think I was so, and that's a whole other interview. Um, Though I had to bring my therapist into as well, it's like being in a, and I thought, okay, this kind of actor's guide to copy is working. So if I couldn't do this as an actor, what if I could bring this to this and still find a way to like teach this and still be in front of the camera and really support people, because my clients were getting such great results. So in the actor world, kind of how you don't really, yes, you go to auditions and stuff, but you're also creating your own work. You're creating your own stage. Think about like a one-person show or a web series or things that people create, like they go and create it, right? If you think about some of the best shows ever, like Phoebe Waller-Bridge, like Fleabag, like Phoebe Waller-Bridge did not wait. She created that. Like she didn't wait. She took that as like a one-person show and it became what it became, right? If you think about somebody, speaking of someone who's Irish, I love the great Sharon Horgan, like Bad Sisters, like Sharon Horgan does not wait for anybody. She's like, I'm going to create my own work and y'all are going to come to me. You know what I mean? And so I thought, okay, if I couldn't do this as an actor, but let me do this here. And that's kind of how the Copy Chat was born, which was our great summit that's now had 8 seasons. And I brought people to me and started sharing this actor's guide to copy through my own stage, which was the Copy Chat. And all of a sudden one day, overnight, I mean, my life changed from the Copy Chat. All of a sudden I had 5,000 people on my email list. We had people signing up like it was falling into place. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna ride this wave. But it was never something that I woke up like, I can't wait to be the world's like most well-known copywriter. You know what I mean? Not at all. But it just kind of came to be. And I find that I'm still using all those elements of acting all the time,
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
world and getting to
Yeah.
do all the
And
things that I wanted to do anyways.
yeah, I think what it makes it so much easier. Your acting background, obviously, this is no news to you, but just for people who haven't been in the Copy Confidence Society, which I have, it just makes it so relatable, especially for someone who isn't like I love words. But some people need the messaging, but they just are like, oh, they just can't get their head around it. So I think that like that more pop culture, the acting approach that you take, it is so helpful. Sorry, I'm fangirling, but
No, no,
um
I appreciate that. And I think that's what I always tell people. Like, I haven't rewritten the principles or the rules of copywriting. They are what they are. But most programs are geared towards copywriters to help them be better copywriters. So they're using the lingo. But that's what makes the society unique is we're really gearing it towards business owners. So I had a way to bring it down to kind of layman's terms that you could understand it. So doing that through the lens of TV and movies and pop culture and people and actors and helping people see that, it just helps it feel like, oh, but the rules of writing a website copy are the rules. I haven't changed them. I've just made them according to romantic comedies. And we make it called the meet cute method, right? It's the rules of copywriting, but it's just in a way that you can understand. If you think about a romantic comedy, these two people meet. The goal is that they'll meet at the end in a romantic way, and there's all these little things along the way that they meet. That's your website. Your website is that meet cute at the beginning of the romantic comedy between you and the reader. And so it just helps people, it just feels more doable for a business owner to do.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, like, what do people love about working with you? But I think that that's it. It just, I think you make it more doable, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. What else do you think they love about working with you?
That's such a great question. Yeah, I think we make it doable. I think sometimes people, I'll call myself out on this. I think sometimes people are worried, like, oh my God, I'm not a pop culture person. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so sometimes I think people worry about that. But I think something that we have a lot of social proof from people in the society who will tell you, hey, I didn't know what it was either, but Marisa breaks it down in a way that you can figure it out. And my goal is to kind of really explain it to you. I'm never just going to like leave you lost, but giving you these kind of more fun frameworks to walk it through. So people do, even if they're kind of weary of it, they end up loving it because they're like, oh, this is so cool. Or now I have a new favorite movie or TV show that I'd never heard of before, or something like that, you know? So people do love that it's doable. I also think something that people love about the Copy Confidence Society is the focus on messaging. Most copy programs are like, and this is not a bad thing at all. They're like, okay, here's the templates, here's all the things you need to rock it with the copy. And what tends to happen there is that you do those and you're like, oh, it didn't work for me. And maybe you think you're not great at what you do, or the person who sold that to you, they're not great at what they do. And both are false. That person is a fantastic copywriter. That's a great program. You're great at what you do. It's because 90% of the time you actually don't have a copy problem. You have a messaging problem. So we had to make sure that that is clear and specific first. So one of the things that's unique to the Copy Confidence Society, at least as far as I know, is that we put messaging at the forefront. We make sure that you are creating what we call that uncopyable message, or you're revisiting it if you're a little bit more advanced. So people love that we kind of hone in on that, because that's going to make it so that you actually know what to put into those plug and plays and put into the templates. So people love that. And I think people also love that it's not just that we're like, okay, here's the material, like best of luck, that there's all the live elements as well. There's the Q&A calls with me. There's the editing calls. There, you can ask me a question every week because we truly have a global community. There's the Ask Me thread every week where I answer questions in there. So we really have these touch points to serve the different learning styles that I think people really love. And that it's not just like come in and take the material and go, or come in and I hit you with like an onslaught of like coaches that aren't me. It's very much you have access to me. And I think people really love that. Yeah.
I would agree.
Okay, great. You tell me, Elaine.
I'm saying yes to all of the
Great.
above.
Okay, great.
Do
Great.
you know, and actually, again, here I'm fangirling, but what I found, I like I'm in Ireland, the calls are later. My daughter is a devil for joining calls in the evening.
Love it.
So I honestly, I didn't make many of the live calls, but everything that you just said, I was like, yes, I still got your opinions and your input on my messaging and my copy. But what you haven't told people, and so I'm going to, is that I was astounded at how this, and I don't mean to be in any way disrespectful to anybody. So, of course, there's a juicy one coming. But I was astounded by how basic some of the questions were, and they weren't necessarily they were like pre-messaging, because some people in your program are sometimes struggling with which direction to go in. And Jeannie Mackers, I know I was. My message was very mucky when I was part of the program. What I loved about calls that were you never were like, well, that's not really on topic. You know, you were really generous with how you were like, okay, interesting. And you just like, I guess, a good copywriter and good mentor, where you were like, okay, well, you know, what do you think? And you tease it out with people. You weren't afraid to just go, well, this is also what I think. Or I know you've definitely said to me, you know, look, Elaine, you've got to get this amount of people onto your list if you want to sell the next time. So I just think there's real like messaging. Yes, a great program that you can access, but also like people aren't afraid to ask basic questions, you know, like because you've created that
Mm-hmm.
environment for them to feel safe. And
No, I
then
love
you're
that.
also like me with my clients, you're not afraid to go, well, no, this is what you need
No,
to do.
no,
And so
ma'am.
I think that a lot of programs they don't do that. So like
Yeah, it's
I
a
think that's the thing, you know.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, it's this beautiful balance that I definitely have learned in my own coaching, and last year getting my certification as an equity centered coach. So really trying to make sure that I'm seeing everyone's different lived experience that they bring to the table as well, which is just, it cannot be ignored. It influences your business, how you show up, all of that. And so yeah, there's this beautiful balance of like um the great Dallas Travers, who's been a mentor of mine, who I love, will always say, we got to give people the dignity of their own process. So there's part of that where you'll see me on a call, be like, all right, I got to give this person the dignity of their own process. So even though that I know that, like, you know, like 9 out of 10 times, I'm like, well, the answer is this, but I got to help you walk yourself there and give yourself that process. And then there are some times And it's just kind of deciphering, okay, hey, Elaine, is it cool if I tell you what I think? Is that cool? Like I get your consent. And then it's like, okay, here it is. And I always, you'll hear me say, your mission, should you choose to accept it, I'm always like, your mission, should you choose to accept it, like, does that feel like something that you could make happen? And there's just like this delicate kind of balance to it. So I appreciate you saying that. And I really do always want somebody to walk away from their kind of moment where they've asked a question with that they felt that they can like take it and do something with it. So we spend, as you see, we spend time on those calls. We're not just like, I don't even time it. Some people will like time certain, I don't, I don't. I'm like, some people it's quick and other people, but it's always serving and at the same time, and this is helpful for anybody who teaches in a group environment, I had to also learn like, okay, when I'm answering a question, is this one we should spend more time on? Because this is ultimately going to benefit the whole group. So it's like making sure the group is in on that and taking a moment to be like, hey, everybody, we're talking to Elaine right now, but this is why. So it's like this delicate balance when you're in a group atmosphere too, which I think I just learned from throwing myself to the wolves in the beginning and figuring it out.
But it's important, and I think it's important to say that and to talk about that because if people are going into a group environment, I think that that's a real benefit, to know that, because they can take action, personal action, even though they're in a group program, which is cool.
Yeah, we had somebody once write to me and they're like, hey, Marisa, I wanted to let you know how much I talk about this in our masterclass. Her name is Jenny. And she was like, I just want to let you know how much I loved the copy confidence study. It seems like all programs should be set up this way, but they're not. I love this. I love this. I love this. And I'm thinking to myself, who is this person? Because I feel like I know, like I feel like my brain, I know. I'm like, I've never seen this person on a call. Who is this person? And this person basically came to all sorts of, they just never they never personally. For them, they were like, I didn't need that. But I had all these things that I watched later, the record, like she was quoting me on stuff. I'm like, who is this? And just saying like how much they loved it. And it's when I realized like we really, we worked with an online curriculum specialist, which I think is kind of programs are doing that more and more now. But I mean, I worked with Cassie. This is back, my gosh, like during the pandemic, like this is like a while ago that Cassie went through every nook and cranny of the society to make sure that it was actionable and doable for the learning style. So I think that's also why we get those kind of rave reviews because I had Cassie. I worked with Cassie for over a year to go through every single piece, and kind of teach me along the way because she was a former teacher. So Cassie also taught me along the way. So any updates we've made to the program, I run it through that same thing that Cassie taught me, So it's interesting to see it really impact people. And being able to really know everybody. I think that's something else I think that when you ask me what people love that just from all the interviews I've been doing lately with some people in the society, they've been saying like, you know me and you know me and my business. And I was so surprised by that because there's all these people in the society. And I thought, yeah, of course I know. But I think that's also just something else that is important to me and important to the team. And we have things in place for that,
Yeah.
that we know who you are and what you're up to and how we can support you.
Yeah, it's great. It is great. Um, it really is because I know, and then I'm going to stop talking about the program, although we will mention it at the end. That it is important for people who are like thinking about going into a group program to know that if they're like me and are like, oh, it's quite unlikely that I'm going to make many live calls, that they're still going to get business results out of it. And holy cow, I have, as I've done an interview all about it. So sure, but yeah.
Yeah, I saw it posted. It was posted today, actually.
All right, yeah.
Repost past
So,
ones. And I was like, oh, Elaine. I was like, wait, I'm not on that video. I'm like, oh, wait, I'm with Elaine later. I'm like, oh, that's Elaine's case study that's being posted today. Yeah.
oh, cool. I must
Yeah.
go and have a look at myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, okay, tell me, what do you love the most? What do you love the most about? What keeps you going when you just go, like, as we all do when we're
Oh,
teaching the
yeah.
same thing? What
Yeah.
makes you stay at it and not burn it
Yeah.
down?
You know what quote I hate is when people are like, find a thing you love and you'll never work a day in your life. I'm like, I'm working. I'm working. Okay. And I think that's all right. Like people are like, oh, find I'm like, and of course there are days, there are times. I think what keeps me going is I love to watch it click for people. Like the Q&A calls, I love so much because you watch stuff click for people. Or you and I think it's like understanding what that person needs. Like, do they actually need the steps? Do they actually need that boost? Is it that we just like have to help them through what like kind of what might be blocking them, you know? And I love that the most, watching it click for people. Um, and I love teaching the frameworks, you know, when I get to go into a guest teaching and teach messaging according to the Ghostbusters.
Yes.
I mean, what could be more fun, you know? So it's fun to like walk into a room where people are like, okay, we're going to learn about copywriting. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to talk about the Ghostbusters because they have the world's most perfect messaging. And you watch people be like, what? You know? And then we break it down, you know, like, and I love that. I really am. I'm a true extrovert, meaning like I'm recharged by being around other people. And so I never come off of a live call I always come off better than when I started or more energized myself when I started. I love that. I love watching it click for people. I love teaching the frameworks. Um, you know, I'm not like a social, I don't love social media, but I do just love like showing up and just being ridiculous is the wrong word, but like having fun with it. Because because we focus so much on our emails, I always say like if social, I don't need it. I do it because I like it. So I actually love like showing up in my Instagram stories and like sharing. Like I saw Jude Law on a walk yesterday. I shared about that in my stories and finding a way to connect that back to business or something. You know, I always love to just like find my way to connect it back and just like have fun. But yeah, I saw him on a walk yesterday. He doesn't look real. I said, my
Does.
mom was like, is he good looking? I said, yeah, of course he's good looking. That's a given, but he didn't look real. He looked like he was like dropped from the heavens. I can't describe it. He looked like it was a painting. Like he looked like a mirage. He didn't look real. I felt like
Stop
if I
it.
approached him, maybe my hand would have gone right through him. Do you know what I mean? He just didn't seem
Yeah,
real. So I did the story, and all these people are responding to my Instagram about this,
I
the story.
bet.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I went to my request folder. I'm like, what is this? There's all these people that like they're in my request folder. And this one woman was like, my husband saw him last year in London and said the same thing about him.
Wow. Now
And
I
I
want
was
to
like,
see him.
I know. So just like kind of having fun in a business, you know, on those days where you're like, oh my gosh, you know?
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Tell me completely away from both of us right now, but I love hearing the answer to this question. In business, so more specifically in business, like who inspires you?
Yeah. Within business, I mean, I think within the online space, I've been able to be mentored by some incredible people. My writing mentor, the great Laura Bell Gray,
Mm.
author of the best-selling book Tough Titties. I would say Laura, I would say Dallas Travers, watching somebody who really embodies what it means to run a business. I always say, I don't know if I can swear on here, but I always say like to run a
You
business,
can, it's me.
like how to run a business that gives a shit. And I
Yes.
think that nobody does it better than Dallas. So watching Dallas do it has been really inspiring for me. When I was a done for you copywriter, I worked for one of the, you know, in many people's opinions, the world's best like female copywriter, Mara Glazer. And so I was so lucky to learn under Mara and advance my own copywriting skills through Mara. Those are some of the people that I love. And then like bigger in business, you know, that other, you know, listening to, I don't like, I love to listen to podcasts where you see like actors or certain people kind of talk about, um, or people who are really like making a difference. Like there's a podcast called Smartless that I love, with Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, um, and Sean Hayes. And they had on LeBron James a while back, and it was really, really cool to hear about the philanthropic work that LeBron James does and the bigger vision he has, like the school that he has. I love to listen to things like that. Um, I also really love Mark Cuban. I love Mark Cuban, and I love listening to Mark talk about business and how he approaches things and creating his own stage for stuff. When he sees something he doesn't like, he goes and creates his own. Like right now, he's like creating his own pharmacy or something because he's like thinks that, you know, what we're charging people in the US is outrageous. So he like went and started his own thing. And there's just something really cool about that I really love. Yeah. And I also just love create, you know, I come from the actor world. So seeing people be super creative, like what mentioning somebody like a Phoebe Waller-Bridge or like a Sharon Horgan, like people who are really out there being creative. And how can I do that in the business world, you know? How can I bad sisters it up
Yeah.
in the business world, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Oh, I could get right behind that. Right behind
I
it.
know.
Particularly on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. It needs a bit of a shake up.
Yeah, it needs a bit of a
Um,
shakeup. So I sometimes look at what people are doing outside of the business world in those creative spaces
yeah.
and be like, can I bring a bit of that to this? And what does that look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, listen, I love it. I love it. It speaks to my background as I worked in media agencies, and we used to always look cross category, because just like there's no point in competitively looking at your category. It's only as good as the category. So it's always interesting to look outside and see what's going on. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
tell me, what advice would you give a new business to just increase their visibility?
Such a great question. First off, you want to make sure you have a clear and specific message. If I can encourage you to do anything, I encourage you to be a specialist in a sea of generalists. Because in every area of our life, that's what we're seeking out specialists. We're looking for specialists. That's what people are typing into Google, right? They're typing in, and one of our great members of our community, Brittany Herzberg, talks about, she's an SEO specialist, talks about like, how do you become the answer to a Googled question? So let yourself be that specialist in a sea of generalists. And like that's going to already boost, it's going to move your business forward a heck of a lot faster. And I also say something we said at the beginning, as much as you can, find a way to create your own stage. Don't wait for people to give you permission. Whether it's, you're going to use your LinkedIn as your stage and you're going to like host and create this whole like a series or something that you do, like give yourself an opportunity to create your own stage in a small way, a medium way, if you want to go like I did and create like creating the copy chat, something that is your own that you can bring people to. Because ultimately with a clear message in your own stage, it's just so powerful for that visibility. Then you have something that's yours that you can always bring people to, or if someone has you as a guest, you can have them in your world. And it just starts to create this collaboration. And collaboration, number one, is what will move your business forward.
Yeah. Oh, amen. 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 How do you promote your business? I feel we're coming near the end now. We're coming near the end.
Yeah.
Stay with us, everybody. Stay with us. How do you promote your business?
Yeah. So we're organic. We're like, like an apple over here, like a nice, crisp, upstate New York organic apple. I say that to say I've never run paid ads. I'm not against it. I think we're in a place where we're ready to, or
Mm,
I've probably been ready for a long time. I've just really honed in on how powerful relationships and collaborations can be. So the way that we promote is through the copy chat. Number one, when we do a season of the copy chat, as we've said, we've done 8 seasons. So that is how a lot of people find their way to us. Then the collaborations from that, me guest teaching inside of people's communities, being on podcasts. Like as you said, Elaine, think you heard me in Gemma's world, like I was speaking in Gemma's world, and then you grabbed our 50 plus scroll stopping subject lines, like actually having we know this is a lead magnet or a free gift, like actually having something that's useful for people. Not just me sitting and explaining copywriting to you, but actually giving you something that you can go use, like the subject lines and use it, you know? Um, but yeah, it's the copy chat, it's guest teaching, it's doing our masterclass twice a year that brings people to me as well. Even if, because I always say I don't have control over if people will buy from me or not. I only have control over the 3 R's that people will remember me, rave about me, and refer me. So if I can do that through the copy chat, through the masterclass, people will, I, I want to help people make the best decision for them, whether it's a heck yes or a heck no. But even the heck no is like, oh, I'll definitely recommend this to someone. And that's really what we're going for. And I think the masterclass helps us do that. The copy chat helps us do that. And like the guest teaching and collaborations.
yeah. Brilliant. And like that's so applicable for everybody out there who wants to grow their business. So thank you for that advice. Tell me, what's the dream for the next year? What are
What's
you
the
planning?
dream? This is such a great question. So the dream is actually, I have been dreaming about creating another tier of the society where it's like a mastery, where it's really, because I think Elaine, like we give you everything to rock and roll. But
Mm,
I also want to create another tier for people who really want to get even stronger in like their storytelling, like a place where I can add in more workshops. Like I think you've heard me talk about like song lyrics and things, and actually having a place where we can rehearse messaging, like bringing some of the actor stuff, like workshops. Like I'm like, oh, let me use all this. I mean, I use it for writing, but like I also have a whole, I got the student loan to prove it from Harvard of like all these ways that we would workshop and rehearse. I think sometimes people are like, oh, when I talk about or I'm on a podcast, I feel this, I feel stiff. I'm like, well, yeah, you got to practice. You got to practice. This is what actors know, right? And I realize sometimes I forget that because like I'm always practicing. So I want to create another level of the society that people could join if they want, where we can do some more of like the workshops, deeper storytelling things, more editing together. Like that's something I've been dreaming about. And also really creating, how I like creating my own stage was so powerful for me. So really creating a group experience for the summits for people. As you know, I do it individually for people or in VIP days, but we have the Copy Confidence Society, and it's really my dream to create the Summit Society and kind of help people in those two ways. So those are kind of my visions for the next year, you know. Then of course I have my own personal visions, of
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You got to
my
fit that
own like
in life as well,
yeah,
Like, so,
my own personal visions, So
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, amazing. Well, look, tell everyone who's still sipping their tea
More tea
how can
drinkers.
they work with you like and I'm going to drop the links
Yeah.
around the video.
Yeah.
How can they work with you?
Yeah. So if you want to know more about the Copy Confidence Society, I think, and you're listening to this at the time of this recording, we're actually in our 12th time that we've opened the doors to the society. And we always kick the doors open with a special masterclass that kind of gives you an idea of what life is like inside of the society. And I also kind of walk you through that messaging framework, how to bring more personality to your copy, all of that. So I tell people, I will give you an opportunity to join the society, but whether or not you join, I know you'll walk away feeling like a more confident creator for your business. And the class is not pre-recorded. It's live with me. There's 3 different dates and times to choose from. I always say it's like Broadway, choose your show and I'll be there. And it's just a really great way, especially if you're listening to this at the time of the recording this fall, if you're getting back into selling, and you just kind of need like a stronger way to talk about what you do to bring more of that personality. I know that the class can help you do that. And if you're listening to this in ordinary time for my Catholics out there, when we're not launching, and you just come to this a couple months from now when the doors are not open, in ordinary time, if you grew up Catholic, then a great way to kind of get inside of our community and know when the next time is happening is through what we talked about, is through the 50 plus scroll stopping subject lines, which gives you 50 plus ways and 3 formulas to use for your subject lines for your email so that you can get that higher people actually reading what you've worked on. And it also doubles really well. You can use a lot of the formulas for like the hooks for social media and stuff as well. So if you're listening to this in the time of this recording, come join us for the masterclass. It's so much fun. I stay on and answer all of your questions. And if you're in ordinary time, grab the 50 plus scroll stopping subject lines, use them, raise your open rates, email me and tell me about it. And we would love to have you part of our community.
Yeah, and can I just say, having come in that way myself,
Yeah, I love that. You came in
honestly,
an
those
ordinary
subject lines
time.
are gold. Like, if you've
Yep.
opened my emails, that's why.
Yep. I
You
love
know?
that. Great.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. Listen, if anybody literally came in at the end there, don't worry. You can watch this back exactly where you are, or I'm going to also post this on the blog so that you can go and watch it anywhere. So thank you so much for joining me for the Business Spotlight, Marisa. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, thank you, Elaine. I adore you so much, and you're just like a dream to have a part of our community. So thank you for having me
Thanks,
here.
Amanda.
Thank